Oh sure, we love talking about Starscream's silly mess-ups, and there's plenty to meme of Starscream from Transformers Prime, but we're kind of just going along with what the other characters say when we consider Starscream a failure. Just because he's twitchy and fearful of Megatron doesn't even mean Starscream is a coward. When others refuse to listen to Starscream, it doesn't mean he's a terrible leader either. Starscream is quite an intelligent bot actually, and today we're going to recognize it. These are 10 praiseworthy things that Starscream does for all you Starscream lovers out there. It is Happy Starscream Appreciation Day, and a little something to make people see him as cooler and more badass than before. Is there really an order? No, it's hard to say which of these are coolest, so you will have to tell me yourselves what you think. Starscream is a tough boy. He's resilient despite how thin he is. Starscream is hard to kill, and he doesn't stay down when hurt. He gets hit hard, thrown around, but Starscream starts moving fast after that to even run and transform. You definitely cannot say the same about the Vehicons, who are even wider than Starscream. He has a great recovery time and somehow survives Megatron's vengeful beating that had an intent to kill him. Starscream is hospitalized and covered in healing scars, but gets Starscream angry enough, and by sheer spite, he'll get up despite the pain. It is even implied that Starscream was beaten a second time, except we don't see the healing process. This bot can take a hit, is not weak, and he can recover very quickly. You might think that Starscream can't handle pain, that he will flee from it, but maybe we're seeing it wrong and he's really just afraid of death, extreme pain, or getting injured and having no one to help him. Starscream is willing to hurt himself and has done it. Starscream does things that a lot of us are too squeamish to do. He takes his sharp knife fingers and cuts his own gut without hesitation just to grab a good glob of blood to show to humans. Who does that? Starscream is also not afraid of jabbing himself with needles. But not just needles, he was collecting his own blood. Imagine how scary blood donations can be. Imagine doing a blood donation to yourself, except 6 times while you were starving, just out of sheer determination. It's crazy, but badass. I had 2 terrible first experiences trying to donate blood and didn't even get the first bag before my body tried passing out. Which brings me to another point. Starscream is the Energon Emperor. By god, this bot can run on so little Energon and function so well. It's no wonder he's hard to kill when you can beat him and starve him and he still does the things a Starscream does. For a large chunk of the show, Starscream lives on his own and struggles to collect enough Energon to survive. You can assume he was weaker than usual, and his excuse to Megatron about being Energon deficient is legit. Starscream would have been deficient, the only thing was, he wasn't crazed from the deficiency. Maybe other bots would have been, but not Starscream. He was as crafty as ever, and he gets major injuries while Energon deficient. At that point, the blood loss could have killed him. Think of how dangerous it was for Starscream to lose this amount of Energon. He's sitting, but he's fully awake. Starscream requires like no fuel to function and is alive so long as a drop remains in him basically. That blood donation I talked about, that is a serious amount of Energon he sacrificed. It could have been 1/3 to 1/2 of what he had in his body. Is he phased? Nope. Imagine all the blood he would lose during some of Megatron's beatings. Starscream just might never pass out. Starscream is a very open character and surprisingly non-hostile and forgiving. You think he's extremely spiteful, but Starscream will work with absolutely anyone he needs to, and even get friendly about it. Starscream has fought the Autobots and has been hurt by them, but he is willing to join their side. He claims to hate humans, but will team up with them and try to chat them up. He has had issues with Arachnid, but then tries to make a plan with her. He and Knockout have clashed a lot in the past, but in Starscream's way he tries to befriend Knockout and chooses to come vent with him. Starscream and Shockwave have hated each other for a long time. Shockwave has tried to impale Starscream's eye, yet he seems content to partner up with Shockwave in the end like nothing ever happened. RC tries to kill Starscream and he is still willing to save her life later, although there is no advantage to doing that. He is surprisingly forgiving after what others have done to him, and making an ally of Starscream might be easier than expected. Starscream can handle any situation. When major changes happen in his life, he takes it like a champ. You won't see him balled up useless and crying, you'll never see him actually moping needing help. Starscream relies on himself to get himself out of any mess. He knows he has to stay strong and witty to survive. Starscream makes the decision to leave the Decepticons because he didn't feel safe or appreciated there anymore. But out in the wild, on an alien planet with 2 factions hating him, he adapts to it. When he gets injured, he calls Autobots and convinces them to help him. Starscream gets an organ harvested from himself, and then has to live unable to transform, a severe disadvantage that puts him in danger. You might think it's silly for him to ride a scooter, but considering that he can't move fast and needs to conserve energy because he's starving, no, he's being super smart. It was horrible when Bumblebee lost his decog for just a short amount of time. It affected his ego, and he was very sensitive about it. You can imagine flight is very important to Air Commander Starscream, but he accepts it and changes his life when he loses his decog. When they start chasing relics, Starscream hops on board and joins them. At the end of it, Starscream joins the Decepticons and returns to doing his thing without feeling out of place. You can put Starscream in any situation and he can stay calm and adapt where other people would panic. Autobot hostage, abusive leader, hiding in the wild, scavenging for food, running around on Cybertron with a cold scientist who doesn't actually like you, Starscream can do it all. Cool weapons. Starscream doesn't fight often, but when he does attack, he can do some damage. Starscream carries 2 heat-seeking missiles that he seems to replace after use. Just one of them causes a good explosion, but 2 together, and Starscream can take down small ships all on his own. Starscream's missiles could seriously hurt a bot, and everyone is smart enough to avoid them. One shot on his own clone was near enough to kill him, though this is a Starscream we're talking about. Even Predaking, who is extremely tough and can take a pounding, roared out in pain when one of Starscream's missiles got him in the back. It's also worth mentioning that he uses his fingers to launch them, making for some cool poses when he fires them in bot mode. Starscream also has blasters in his arms. Starscream also permanently has sharp fingers, which he uses quite often. The undersides and tips are very sharp, slicing his enemies and stabbing them. Several times in the show, Starscream scratches or stabs bots, killing a few and wounding RC. Even if he's not aiming to cut deep, they can leave a good sting. Starscream can also combine using his weapons with flight. You might just get hit hard and fast by Starscream if you get on his bad side. Starscream uses all tools available. Remember the scooter? Starscream is the most resourceful of all characters. While other characters obtain cool items and put them away, Starscream is constantly bringing things out and figuring out the best way to use them. Starscream reuses the relics such as the Apex armor. It's just sitting around otherwise, but if he has anything that will give him an advantage, he will use it. Starscream remembers things. He will remember to bring out the immobilizer to threaten the Autobots. He gets red energon, he saves it for the best opportunity, and even gets 2 doses out of it. Starscream placed in the Harbinger starts using everything it has. Energon processors, scooters, teleportation, internet browser, medical tools, cloning equipment. Starscream steals a piece of dark energon, he hides it for later. He stabs it into himself, but in a way he can pull it out later and maybe use it again. Starscream kills his clone, but he doesn't get rid of it. He keeps it around and eventually finds a use for it. It's TCOG and for a distraction. He's a very practical person who remembers everything he can use, and then uses it. Even if the Dark Energon and Synthetic Energon combo went horribly wrong, only Starscream could remember that they had a bunch of demon blood just sitting around that they could try to weaponize. Manipulative Starscream is pretty cool. Sometimes he seems foolish when he accidentally leaks information and pisses someone off. However, Starscream is good at getting away with things in the end. Starscream has fooled plenty of characters in the show and gotten out of situations. He thinks quickly, he does a bit of acting. One of Starscream's coolest moments was when RC found out Starscream killed her partner, and she was trying to force him to fight her. Starscream feigned being so scared that he accidentally dropped the keycard to unlock his cuffs. His goal was to make RC bend down in front of him so he could cut her with his knife fingers. It completely worked. Starscream had her drop her guard and think he was pathetic, then he got her injured before he released himself just for the advantage. It's deadly smart. He also acts pathetic to get the Autobots to treat his injuries. Starscream will call himself harmless to tempt them to help him. Starscream even gets Shockwave to leave him alone 2 times just by saying the right things. Starscream excused himself for abandoning Shockwave and convinced Shockwave to not hurt him, even though Starscream was totally trying to get Shockwave killed. But the best thing he did, his best lie, was taking advantage of the 2 times he got the Autobots to medically treat him. Starscream pretended he wanted another deal, he drew them out so he could sneak into their base. Some of the most creative plans go to Starscream. He's very original and constantly making up plans to benefit the Decepticon cause or himself. And people were saying he wasn't a good leader. Starscream in charge was great. He could stay hidden and collect a lot of energon, but he could also be very active, doing one thing after the other, using an energon harvester, stealing materials to make a melting ray for energon mining, replacing an Autobot with a shape-shifting spy. Let's not forget how close Starscream was to discovering the Autobot base at the start of the show. Starscream also had wildly successful plans. Starscream, a scavenger unable to transform, used 1 shot of red energon, a dead body, and a portal remote to fool the Autobots, break into their base, and steal all the Mega Keys. With them, Starscream was able to win back Megatron's favor, return to the Decepticons, get his TCOG back, and have safety in energon. It was also Starscream's idea to get the Autobots to kill the Predacons for the Decepticons when Predaking's intelligence was revealed. Megatron would have just killed them, but Starscream wanted to direct Predaking's anger onto the Autobots. Starscream's plan had the Autobots lured to the laboratory, so it looked like the Autobots had simply found the lab, then killed the Predacons. If Ratchet had been killed faster, Predaking would still be ignorant about what really happened. And you know what, not everyone can have successful plans, but the fact that Starscream keeps coming up with them is impressive. Most other people don't come up with any at all, and end up standing around as much as Megatron. Starscream is very creative. Starscream is a sky demon. This bot is freaking amazing. He's super agile, fast, and fearless in the sky. Starscream throws himself off cliffs and chooses the last second before impact to transform. He chooses that. Starscream also knows how to transform and fight with style. That takes serious timing to flip backward at high speed and land perfectly on another jet flying at high speed. Keep your balance on impact, and as that jet is flying around. No problem at all. You ever think about how scary Starscream could be? He can dodge like no one's business. Humans attack him and he's weaving through the shots. Starscream twirls in just the right way to protect himself, and I can't even imagine how I would do that, keeping track of myself when spinning, let alone going forward at top speed and evading shots. Starscream doesn't seem to get dizzy at all and knows exactly what his body is doing. Air Commander Starscream is Air Commander Starscream for a reason. As the leader of the Seekers, he has great flying skills that no one else may be able to match. And those are just some cool features of Starscream to recognize. He is tough, adaptable, creative, intelligent, and talented. More characters should actually be taking him seriously because of everything he can do. It's just a bonus that Starscream also happens to have villainous high heels, some dance moves, and a weak spot for GIFs.